about gut health. Well, I have the perfect guest for today. She is a friend and super knowledgeable. Carley Smith, the Fairy Gutmother, joining me to talk about gut health and why it's so important for many, many reasons. Carley, good to talk to you today.
Yes, nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so explain what gut health is to start off.
So, the gut health is essentially your immune system. Nearly your entire immune system resides in the gut, which, to me truly makes it the foundation for our health. And it's really comprised of that healthy balance of bacteria and fungi, or, your microbiome, and a nice healed and sealed gut lining.
Why do we need to care about this? Obviously, our overall health, but it feels, and tell me if I'm wrong here, because I know this is your specialty, but it feels like in the last decade, we're hearing gut health. I don't ever remember growing up talking about gut health.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, the concept, but I think it's just becoming more prevalent now. I think more people are struggling with gut complications or autoimmune conditions, or truly, I read somewhere, 90% of diseases can be traced back to the gut now. So it really, I think that we are so, just struggling with our health that it's becoming more apparent that, to focus more on the gut as a means of optimal health. So, it's been around for a while, but we're really dialing in on new research and figuring out, how we can optimize the health of the gut, which is really exciting.
So always learning, always looking into research. I know this is your specialty every single day, and I want to know what we need to do. What is it that we need to do to feel better? You know my story. And for those who are just listening, I spent years as a morning show TV anchor, and I never felt good. I never felt energized. And so I always blamed it on my sleep, that I wasn't sleeping well. But when I decided to stop that, and I decided, okay, sleep is going to be priority, I still didn't have a lot of energy. It helped, certainly. Sleep is important, but I didn't have a lot of energy. I was worried about my immune system. So for someone like me or the average person, what are the types of things we should be looking into to really dive in and know if our gut is the issue?
Yeah, I call it the gut health lifestyle. So it's not just our foods that we need to be focusing on. It's diet and lifestyle, stress and sleep. Those are all important as it relates to the gut. And in fact, clinical research actually shows that stress is more damaging on the gut than junk food. So, and when I work with clients, I'll analyze their microbiome, and sometimes I'll get clients who have a great diet, but an incredibly stressful lifestyle. And I'll compare that to other clients with, an okay diet, but they really manage their stress. And the clients that don't necessarily have a great diet, but are managing their stress, have a better overall microbiome snapshot than those that eat really well but have really high stress levels. So I call it the gut health lifestyle. It's, as you were saying, just like the lack of sleep and that go, that really does absolutely have an impact on the gut. So it's making sure you're eating the right foods that help to support the gut, but also, taking that time out for yourself, managing your stress, getting that adequate sleep. These things combined is really what creates that overall picture of a healthy gut.
Well, let's talk about food. All of those things are important. We talk about sleep, stress, all of that, but let's talk about food specifically.
So the best kinds of foods to support the gut really is fiber. I believe that most of the gut issues that we're having really stem from our diet severely lacking in fiber. And fiber is the food source for the beneficial bacteria in the gut. So you can take a probiotic, or essentially a supplement with those beneficial bacteria in it all day long, but if you don't have the right food to feed the beneficial organisms, they'll just, essentially die. So fiber is really important. And this can come from foods like leafy greens or cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli, but also resistant starches, which are key. And those are foods that essentially are just that, resistant to digestion. They break down in the large intestine by essentially becoming food for the bacteria. And these are foods like beans and like chickpeas or potatoes even, which people probably, we kind of have this misconception that potatoes are bad for us, but they are actually a great source of resistant starch to feed the good bugs in the gut. So focusing on those resistant starches, cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, making the fiber a major priority on your plate, kind of that main food source, and then filling in, with the rest of good quality fats and proteins and all of that. So fiber definitely number one. And then how much I absolutely love bone broth. I talk about it all the time, but I truly believe it's one of the best things that you can do to help support the gut, because bone broth is really extracting all of those nutrients from the bones, cartilage, collagen, those proteins that are really helpful in strengthening the gut lining. So, in addition to eating good sources of fiber, incorporating more bone broth into your diet is so helpful. And then on top of that, I also love incorporating fermented foods. So like kimchi, which is essentially a Korean version of sauerkraut, kombucha, cultured dairy. These foods just really help to kind of repopulate the gut with those beneficial organisms.
So over the years, I feel like I've tried everything, trying to be healthy. And we hear a lot about the keto diet or Mediterranean diet, which you probably have a little more favoritism for. It's a little more balanced. But do you think we do our bodies injustice by focusing on, I remember in college, it was go fat free. Everything had to be fat free. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the harm in some of those things? Are people focusing too much on weight instead of overall health? Or what's your take on that?
Absolutely. I think we really just eat the rainbow, eat all the foods, but just make sure that you're eating the foods in their more properly prepared form. So I am a huge fan of grains for the gut, as long as you don't have a compromised gut. And meaning, if you have a compromised gut, those foods might be hard to digest. But if your gut is not compromised, grains in their more properly prepared form are a really great source of food for the beneficial bacteria. So sometimes with the eliminations and restrictive diets, you're missing a lot of the nutrients that a lot of these foods have. And really just hone in on reading ingredients, so with the fat free, that fat is bad. Well, all they really did was take the fat out and put processed foods and sugar, back into the food. So it's because we really need important.
The fat in right. Talk about that rainbow or balance. We need that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fat is a preferred source of fuel basically for the body. So fat doesn't make you fat. Sugars, processed foods, artificial ingredients can lead to weight gain. And also a healthy weight is found in the gut, and research shows that specific strains of bacteria are found in those that maintain a healthy weight, especially, and conversely, those that have an unhealthy weight have more particularly unhealthy strains of bacteria in their gut. So really eating those foods that help promote the good bugs in the gut is what maintains that healthy weight. And that's eating all of the foods, but in their good, wholesome form and not necessarily in a processed form.
So let's talk about the big problems, the biggest issues people might have in eating on the run, grabbing processed foods. What are the foods you would tell people are the big culprits that causing trouble for us?
There's a quote that I really like that said, if it comes from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. And I think that, is so well said, and it's so much easier. It's easier to say of the foods that you just shouldn't have versus what you should have. Eat all the good quality natural foods and just stay away from any of the processed foods. And if you are consuming processed foods, just really make sure to read the label and check for any artificial ingredients or preservatives, hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup, natural flavors and ingredients. And it's just this constant war against food labels. And we learn something new every day, but it might only look like it has 2 or 3 ingredients in it. But if there's a natural flavors in there, or something of like different kinds of spices or ingredients that they can put up to hundreds of ingredients under just a naturals flavor label. So while you might not think that you're getting a processed food just because it might only have 2 or 3 ingredients, it very well could be. So just making sure that you do a little homework, and also checking, sugar content, especially when you're buying kombucha, because it can be, which is a fermented Chinese tea. It can be sort of the new soda. There's a lot of sugar and not all of them are of good quality. So you always kind of have to remain on your toes and check food labels. But if you're just buying good quality whole foods, that's really where you should stay. And sometimes I will note, sometimes you have to get a little off balance to get back balance again. So I am a fan of some of the elimination diets and being restrictive while you're healing your gut. Sometimes we have to eliminate some of these foods for a particular time. I know when I did my gut healing journey, I went on the GAPS diet. So that was restrictive for a while, but eventually you add these foods back in and you work your way up towards incorporating all of the good foods. So sometimes, you do get a little off balance, but the idea is that you can heal the gut and then incorporate all of these foods.
So I think for some people, they might be hearing this and thinking, this sounds really great, but I'm overwhelmed. How do you start off? For someone who thinks, they might not know if their gut health is the problem. It sounds like it is for a lot of people. Where do you tell people to start?
Yeah, that's such a great question because it absolutely can be overwhelming. And when I was, doing my gut healing journey, it was absolutely overwhelming. So if I just tell people to pick one thing that you can start to change, maybe that's incorporating bone broth. Maybe that's adding in one more source of fiber into each meal of the day. But find one thing that you can do that can help to make a little bit of progress. Maybe it's reducing sugar or reducing your processed foods. And you don't have to eliminate everything under the sun either. You don't have to go completely pendulum swing one way. And I feel like that sometimes can be the most ineffective way because you're really cutting, you're restricting, so the gut can handle moderation, which I think is one of, the most wonderful things that the microbiome actually changes within 24 hours. So you can eat healthy all the time, but then, go and eat a piece of cake. Well, the gut is going to reflect that. But the good news is that it can get right back onto, a healthy track, when you just start eating healthy again. The problem is when it's chronic, when you eat cake or processed foods or sugar all the time, because then it's a prolonged period of having those harmful species of bacteria and fungi in the gut. And that's what can contribute to further health complications. So have the moderation, eat all of the foods, but as you are, working towards maybe making some changes, just don't overwhelm yourself. Start with one thing that you can do differently and then start building on that.
Isn't that true in life? I
Right.
find that I'm trying to get into a new exercise routine. And if I do it like crazy every day and hold myself to crazy standards, I burn out and then I don't want to do it anymore. So
absolutely.
One thing at a time, feel good about that, build in new steps, which leads me to my next question about families. So my kids are like sugar kids. What kid isn't? There are very few who don't love it. Of course, right? We all do. They just don't know how to control it.
Yeah.
How do you advise families to work this type of diet and shopping and cooking to work it into their everyday life?
Yeah, again, it comes back down to moderation. It doesn't have to be so all or nothing. And as long as the majority part of time they're eating a little bit healthier, that's what to focus on. And then you can leave room for that moderation. And there are really good quality food companies out there making, prepared foods in, the frozen food section or the snack aisle. There are good quality foods out there to help make your life a little bit easier. So you don't have to necessarily make everything from scratch, which is great.
Give me some examples though. Like, I know you're an incredible chef. I know you help people daily. If you were advising my family, I've got one off in college, but I've got a high schooler and a fifth grader and a husband, and they're all a little bit picky in different ways. I will make a awesome meal. And then I feel like I'm the only one who wants to eat the Brussels sprouts or the snap peas, or they will eat snap peas. But what might be an example of a meal a family like mine or others would go, okay, this is okay. We can do this. And it's not over the top.
Sure. So I love, and this is what I tell for families too. I mean, find what your kids love and add, some of that. So like, for instance, bacon, that's kind of like the one thing that I found that everybody loves bacon. So if you chop a little bit of bacon up and throw that into your casserole, or, throw that over some broccoli, or, whatever you're trying, that it's, it helps your family or your kids to kind of ease into eating a little bit healthier. So I'll make these casseroles with, a good quality pasta. You could do like a chickpea pasta or a whole grain pasta, but then throw in, and putting just a few noodles in there. Yeah. And putting a few noodles. It doesn't have to all be the noodles, but then that's where you load in, broccoli and carrots and, all of your fresh veggies, and then kind of bake that together with a good quality, like a Parmesan cheese, which is an aged cheese that's a little bit particularly healthier for the gut, high in the, kind of those beneficial bacteria content. So really you're compromising, you're getting the good quality fiber, you're getting, a little bit of the aged cheeses, good for the gut, but then, the noodles, a little bit more kid friendly, and kind of baking all that together. And if you bake anything in a good quality cooking fat and bone broth, I swear it tastes amazing, seasoned with a good quality sea salt. It doesn't have to be difficult. Most of my recipes are, 5 ingredients or less, just stuff that you probably already have in your pantry. So you don't have to complicate it. Just cooking with good quality ingredients really makes the difference in the foods. But finding those things that compromise a little bit. I found bacon and cheese and noodles. It seems to be like this, a language we all speak.
I have tried to put bacon on Brussels sprouts. They still won't eat it though.
Oh, really?
Hey, will you? No one wants the Brussels sprouts but me. But I love your recipes, and watching what you make, you're inspiring, because I look at it and I go, that looks amazing. And it just takes a little bit of work. Carley, I have 2 questions that I ask everyone when they come on the podcast. I think we learn from successful people. And these are the 2 questions. So first of all, what tool would you recommend for productivity? What's your favorite tool for productivity? And it doesn't have to be like a technology tool or anything, but what would you suggest?
Honestly, writing things down and making a list. I think that has been my, saving grace for getting anything done. First of all, I think when you write something down, it automatically puts it into action, whether that's a goal or, something on your to-do list. So it does something with your brain that you're already making that step to complete that task. But if I don't write things down, it's just all a mess up there. So organizing, writing things down, and I'm old school. I use the hard planner. Nothing is
calendar
on my phone. Yeah.
I love it. I keep a to-do list and like just a journal of thoughts while we're talking. I just have to keep that with me so I can go back and refer to things, because I'll forget them.
Yes.
Okay. And then my second question is, what's your purpose and when did you discover it?
I believe my purpose is helping people. And going through Lyme and struggling with Lyme disease and healing my gut, which is kind of how I came into this. It gave me this, sense of purpose to be able to spread this information and help people. And once I started Fairy Gutmother, and started really helping other people feel better, there's no greater satisfaction that I feel like I could ever get from anything else when I find that I've helped somebody or I've helped them feel better. Where our health is everything. And when you don't have your health, you don't really have anything. So being able to help people reclaim their health and feel better and give them, that inspiration and that vitality, to live their life to the fullest is one of the greatest fulfillments. So I truly believe helping people is my calling.
And you have done that. You're so inspiring. I love what you do. Your website, give us more information on where people can get some of these awesome recipes that I see you on social media putting out there. Where can people find you?
Thank you. So it's just social media, just at Fairy Gutmother, and my website, fairygutmother.com. And I just launched my wellness course, which incorporates a diet that's designed to help boost the gut health, and lots of videos within the course on what constitutes a healthy gut, walking you through the diet, cooking demos, recipes. It's all sorts of stuff on there that really helpful in guiding you along the way.
And I have just gotten into your course. I'm excited to learn more and to teach my family too. Carley,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you
We
for
appreciate
having
your
me.
appreciate your expertise and who you are in helping people, and hope to talk to you again soon.